everybody. So today I'm going to talk to you about Confucius. And so many of you can tell just by the name, but many of you have also heard the name here in the US. Confucius is a Chinese philosopher. He was born in about 551 BC. And of the three religions that we've talked about so far, Confucius is a real man. He's not a legend. He's not a myth. He actually existed during this time period. In fact, he was alive. He was born in 551 BC and he died in 479 BC. So he is a true, real, live person. So he's not a legend. He's not a deity. Even though some people have tried to maybe make him into a deity, maybe like the Catholics, how they'll make Mother Teresa into a saint, or Pope John Paul into a saint. Some people have tried that with Confucius, but everybody knows he was a real man, and he created a philosophy or an ideology. So in reality, Confucianism, which is a word that is coined in the West, Confucianism. Confucianism is a ideology or a belief system, a code of ethics to follow in some sense, but it's not a religion. So although there may be shrines devoted to Confucius, people don't go there to worship the way they do in other religious shrines and temples. It's there for to pay respect, to reflect upon, but it's not a formal organized religion. Confucius was born. Confucius is his name, and he lived in a small province. And ultimately he had children. He had a boy and a couple of girls. He was a teacher, and so it's being a teacher. And in China, when you're born into a particular clan, you have some responsibilities for taking care of or preserving certain things. And so being a teacher, he would educate people on life, music, philosophy, and so he really had followers at the time, but he wasn't famous, and he didn't have millions of followers like we talk about people having today. He's not like a Joel Osteen, who on TV has tons of followers. He's not a Michael Beckwith, who has his own church and has a philosophy that actually pulls a lot from the Eastern religions. Confucius, during his time period, he observed life around him, and what was happening is people were falling victim to various vices, and their behavior and moral standards were sort of going kaput. And so he wanted to restore dignity, and so he, as he did research and studied various other written texts and took care of documents and texts and concepts, he developed some of his own theories, and he shared those with his students. Confucianism is a main philosophy that has taken hold in China, and it deals much with ethics. And so I'm going to give you a couple of examples of some phrases or quotes from Confucius. You probably heard such things. Maybe if you were younger, you might have heard people say, Confucius say, and then what the phrase is. So some of the sayings that he actually did have is, he who knows all the answers has not asked all the questions. So that would be a philosophical idea to think about, because if you're a know-it-all, for example, no one can ever tell you anything because you know everything, then that would maybe influence that person to sit back and think that maybe they don't know everything, and maybe there are more questions to be asked on their part. Another saying is, the man who moves a mountain begins by carrying away a small stone. So many of you have heard such things like that before. The way to move a mountain is you start with the small stones and then you start to move. So that would be a philosophical thought to think about in various forms. Do you have physical, emotional blocks that you need to deal with, and how do you deal with them? Is you start with small items and work with them until you at some point get through or get over whatever this barrier or block or mountain is. Another Confucius saying is, wherever you go, go with all your heart. And so these are all philosophies that fit in with achieving harmony in and with the world, because it's an ethical standard to think about. It's a philosophy to live with. Another phrase, Confucius saying, is, before you embark on a journey of revenge, dig 2 graves. And so philosophically, you have to think about that. If you're going to go get somebody back for something that they've done to you, then you might be digging their grave, but you're probably digging your own grave as well. And as you sit back, I'm not going to go into the deep explanation or philosophy behind it. That would be really a discussion item anyway amongst all of us. But what is that going to actually entail, and what does that mean to the person who seeks revenge? So the philosophy that's there is set as a standard. It has a moral base. The computer is not working. So since my computer is kind of going slow, I'll just pull some information out of a different encyclopedia. And the works or the ideas or the ideals of what is Confucianism are contained in 9 books. And so the writings are divided into 2 groups. There are 5 classics and 4 books. And so of the classics, which are the Wu Qing, and these were originated before Confucius, so these are probably books that he had access to, that he was able to glean knowledge from and then share that knowledge or his interpretation of it. And one is the I Ching, which is the book of changes. One is the Shu Qing, which is the book of history. One is the Shi Qing, which is a book of poetry. Another is the Li Qing, which is a book of rites. And then there's the Chung Chu, which is a spring and autumn annals, which he actually had some part in with those. And so there's those 5 books, or 5 classics, and then the 4 books are the Lun Yu, the Chung Yun, the Ta Sui, and the Meng Tzu, and these are all from Confucius's time, and or have some impact from either he himself or some of his students or followers. And so what the main sort of point to understand related to Confucianism is that it's not a formal religion. It is a belief system or an ideology in which people can ascribe to and follow, but they're not bound by any religious practice or overtones. And then also keep in mind that, again, of the three that we've talked about, Confucius was a real man. That they actually have, we know who he is. He's not a legend. His was a philosophical statement that did not turn into any kind of a religion, especially while he was alive. People followed him then, but not a ton. And his notoriety came well after and has now spread around the world, because these are principles in which we can live. You don't have to be of one faith or another to actually understand the things that he says, and you can sort of take to heart some of the phrases or sayings that he presented. I mean, one of the best ones that most people in the United States grasp and understand is, and this comes from Confucius, is choose a job that you love and you'll never work a day in your life. And so you've heard that, seen that. It probably pops up on your calendars under daily motivational or inspirational quotes, because when we do something that we love, it doesn't feel like work. And these are ways that when you feel good about yourself, and this is a positive sort of reflection, it's not a bunch of don't do this and don't do that like many religions are. This philosophical ideology is positive in its nature, and it helps us, if you practice any of it, it will help you be sort of a happier person, learn to let go of things and problems, acknowledge stuff that's a big deal, and then don't hold on to it. That's some more of his sayings. And then that helps us when we feel better. That puts us in better harmony with the world. And what we want to be is, you want to live a happy life that is harmonious with your perception and your belief system. And in this case, the knowledge and philosophy that Confucius shares with you crosses boundaries of many religions. And so I would encourage you to do a little research on some of the things that he says and do some thought behind it, and see how thinking about such things and then maybe applying them to your life, no matter what religion you are, makes you feel better and brings the harmony that you are seeking. All right, so have a good one. We'll see you again soon.